All right, we are live. Give people a minute or two to trickle in. If you are confused because there is a picture of pigments up, it's because that's my default picture, and I did not. I didn't notice until I'd already kind of set the thing up. So I did not notice that it was. If you are confused because there was a picture of pigments up, it's because that's my default picture. Yes, okay. So let's yeah. Back here. All right. There's no one here yet, but that's all right. Let me just kind of start talking. So a couple days ago, we started this project to make a sound for each of the oscillator types in the MicroFreak. Last week we did 8 of them, starting with the VA oscillator, or the basic waves oscillator, and going to the 2-up FM. Maybe while we're waiting for people to join here, I can just run through these patches real quick. So this is the first patch. This is the basic waves oscillator. This is called Classics. As you can see, it's kind of a polysynth kind of style sound. Excuse me, warm with some motion, nothing too special or weird. Next was the super wave oscillator. We did some super sines for this spooky bee. It's so called because it's like a spooky bee movie soundtrack sound. Yep. Then we have gnarl table. This is just the wavetable, the basic wavetable. And then glassy lead. This uses the harmonic or additive oscillator. Maybe more like a glassy pluck than a glassy lead, but whatever. The names don't really matter that much. This is K-bass. This is a Car Plus Strong bass. It's got that tone that comes in later. Yep. Vertilog. So this is the VA oscillator. This is a lead style sound, a mono sound. Fat. And oceanic. This uses the wave shaper oscillator and the wave folder. It's oceanic because it's a lot of waves moving around. And FMS or FMS. This is the FM oscillator one. That takes us to, this is Nervous Keys is one of the presets. We're just going to initialize that. All right. See if anyone's shown up yet. Okay, well, there's at least one viewer. Swarm of course. Hey, Swarm, how's it going? Since you're here, we're going to go ahead and start. It's just you and me for now, but hopefully some other people show up. And if not, you and I get to spend some more quality time together. Yeah, like I said, we're going to finish up this, or try and finish, get through there's 12 or so oscillator types. So we might fall a little short. There might have to be a part 3 to wrap up, but let's see how far we get. Okay, so nervous keys, we're going to go right to the Formant oscillator. Okay, so 3 settings on this are interval, Formant, and shape. As I recall, this is like a granular Formant oscillator. I'm just going to pull up the manual here real quick. Make sure it can be useful to just do a quick scan of the manual. Make sure we understand kind of what we're looking at here. Get the English manual up, oscillator types, keyboard section, oscillator types. Go down to granular Formant oscillator. Description. Granular synthesis is a synthesis method developed fairly recently. A technique where a wave is chopped into tiny pieces called particles that are then rearranged, multiplied, and added in multiple ways. In this model, particles are rearranged into formants and filtered waveforms. Okay, so the interval sets the frequency ratio between formants 1 and 2. Formant sets the formant frequency, and shape sets the formant width and shape. This controls the shape of the window by which a sum of 2 synchronized sine oscillators is multiplied. So that all kind of goes over my head. So we're just going to turn some knobs and see what happens. Get some kind of throaty sounds in there. Hey, Lenny, how's it going, man? I'm glad you could stop by, even if it's only for a minute. Yeah, Formant is typically a type of filter, like a multi-peak filter. That's at least how I've heard it used typically in context. So, but yeah, this is some weird granular thing. Okay, some nice buzzy stuff here, throaty here. It kind of turns into a little bit of a howl up there. Okay, so my inclination is just to get all these things moving. Maybe we'll put 1 on the LFO, 1 on the cycling envelope, and 1 under pressure control, and just kind of see what happens there. Okay, let's start with the cycling envelope, and we might as well start with the first one. Definitely hear that movement. We'll do the LFO to the timbre. Okay, that's interesting. So it seems like now that we have this second thing moving, it's much more audible. Yeah, there's a lot of watt. It's much more audible that that first bit of movement is more audible. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Starting to sound a little bit musical. Okay, and now we're going to have pressure applied to this third one. It's pretty interesting, honestly. Put a little attack on there and then use that to move the filter. I think I'm also just for, sorry, I should have had the other hand up there. So yeah, I'm just moving this. I was going to put the keyboard to track the filter. We'll just put it at like 50%, just so the filter opens up a little more as we move up the keyboard. Just, we'll try it. I don't know if we're going to stick with this or not. Hi, Tripwire. How's it going? Thank you for the kind words. We are working with the Formant oscillator, which I read the explanation of what it does, but I didn't really understand it, so I don't really feel like it's worthwhile to read it again. But if you go to the Arturia MicroFreak manual and look to the oscillator types, you will see the Formant oscillator explanation, and then you can be just as confused by it as I was. So this is like it's a pretty interesting sound here. So you got kind of a brass sound that the capacity to go psychotic. So I think, as I mentioned, so we've used each modulator is modulating at least one thing. So it means if we are happy with the sound, we can certainly consider being done. And for the sake of getting through all these different oscillator types, let's just say we're done. So we'll say save, click to save, keys. Call this a lead sound. And we're going to call it Psycho Brass because it's kind of a brass sound, but it's pretty nutty. Psycho Brass. There you go. Okay, so the next one. So this is one of the presets. It's called Punisher, and we're just gonna hit that 3 times. initialize. Okay, so the next type is the chord. So this is Tripwire. Yeah, I've heard good things about Centurial. I have no experience with it myself, so I can't really comment directly. But from what I've heard, it's a great resource. And if you, while you're working through it, if you have questions that aren't answered by the material and you want to pop into one of these streams and ask them, or if you have some questions right now, I'm happy to answer those. I'm actually working on my own little shameless plug here, how to synth course. It's on etherdiver.com. You'll see it if you go to the front page, how to synth. And it's just in its beginning stages right now. There's just some kind of overview stuff in the first lesson. I'm currently in draft 3 of the second lesson, so it should be up soon. It is definitely taking me longer than I thought it would, but anyway, the next. But yes, you can feel free to do that as well, and maybe have some questions. Yeah, I'm hoping that mine is agnostic as well in terms of both synthesizer platforms, DAWs, whatever. You should be able to use it with any synthesizer. And mine is very narrowly focused on synthesis. It doesn't really get into DAW stuff or arrangement or anything. But I might get into some of that as sort of what you might call supplementary material later. So chords are for doing one key chords. It can do octaves, fifths, sus4, minor, minor 7, minor 9, minor 11, 6, 9 added, major 9, major 7, and major chords. It can do a bunch of inversions. So the first control is for the inversion or transposition. And then the second one is for the waveform. Or no, I'm sorry. The first is for type, so for chord selection, octave, fifth, sus4, etc. Second is for the inversion or transposition, and then the last one is for the waveform. The first half of the knob goes to string machine-like waveforms, and the second half is a small wavetable with 16 waveforms. So let's see here. So we're on the chord type. So it's on major chords right now. So this is an interesting mode. Because this synth has a paraphonic mode, I honestly don't usually find that one this useful, but it can be good for doing stuff like fifths, brass, and if you were doing some generative or improvised music with this, I see how it might be interesting to like have it, use like some sort of LFO to move through different chord shapes or chord types when you're just hitting a note rhythmically, etc. But what I'm gonna do is just do an octave, and we'll play with those other controls to see how they affect this octave stuff. Okay, so we got it on octaves right now. It's pretty interesting, honestly. Okay, so my first instinct is to use pressure to move through these waveforms. I don't know if that'll be interesting or not, but let's give it a little shot here. Okay, that is a little interesting. I feel like maybe we need to move it down a little bit more. that's pretty interesting. So the other thing I thought might be kind of cool is go up here and take the cycling envelope and actually what I wanted to do, sorry. Let's see if we can use an LFO to move between those two states. Okay, so I want to go LFO to timbre. That's kind of neat. Okay, so we haven't used our cycling envelope yet, which I think we can put that on cutoff. Turn this down a little bit, and then, yeah, turn. That's kind of neat. Tweak the resonance a little bit, the filter bite a little harder. So yeah. And let's see, so we haven't used the envelope yet. I mean, the envelope's doing the amp mod, so it is being used for something. LFO, haven't used it. Oh yeah, we can do this too. Again, I'm just adding the keyboard tracking to the filter, just kind of a standard synth thing to do. That opens up the filter as you move up the keyboard a little more, in proportion to the the pitch should be 100%, would track it 100%. This is a very standard thing to do because in real life, instruments tend to get brighter as you move up in pitch. So it is a common synthesis thing as well. Towards plugins and sample libraries. Tripwire 101 1001 says, with the trend towards plugins and sample libraries, and now I am becoming more interested in field sampling and other ways to create my own sounds. Yeah, just getting started, very much beginning. Yeah, it is almost SID-like. It definitely has that. Sorry, I'm jumping around from comment to comment. Swarm of Dead Insects mentions with that faster LFO, it has almost a SID-like quality. Of course, we went to the slower LFO, but we could always... Actually, you know what? Maybe that's a more interesting sound, actually. What do we think? Faster or slower? Well, you guys weigh in on that. I'm going to weigh in on this mention of plugins and sample libraries. Yeah, not to go all goat farmer about it. I don't know if you recognize that reference or not, but I'm a big fan of using primarily, almost entirely, not 100% entirely, but primarily my own sampled sounds, atmospheres, everything. This little guy right here, this is just like literally the cheapest Zoom recorder. This is an older model. The new one is actually 32-bit float. It costs like $100. I will say they tend to die. So I can't, recommend it 100%. Yeah, okay. But I can strongly, I mean, for what it costs, and I will say too that the tendency for it to fail out of the box is mostly just annoying because you just always yes, I can democrate faster and slower again, but these things usually fail out of the box, so it's not a big deal. You just exchange it for a new one. So I got one of these and it failed out of the box like within 3 weeks, and I exchanged it, and I've had this one for a year and a half now and haven't had a single problem with it. But once you have one of these, like it can fit in your pocket. Of course, your phone is also in your pocket, and I highly recommend putting a recording app on that. And once you kind of get in the habit, everywhere you go, you should I highly recommend recording any sound that catches your ear, and even the slightest, whether it's a natural sound, like, some birds or whatever, or it's like you hit a stick against a fence and it makes an interesting ringing tone. Just record that shit. So much of my percussion and atmospheres and all this stuff is just stuff that I've recorded walking around town, or even right here in my room. Like this literal Mountain Dew bottle right here. This is on my new album, because it was sitting here and I needed a percussion sound, and so I recorded it like thumping it and whatever, and then processed it through the Euro rack. And so yeah, some of the percussion on my new album is from Mountain Dew bottle, and that is sort of the really the appeal of programming your own sounds. That's what's worth the hassle is you'll have something that's a little different than what anyone else has. It doesn't mean you still might get hit by some weird content ID shit because it's robots. But that's neither here nor there. It's the spiritual thing that you get from it can't be touched. So okay, so this is fast. And so we'll just go ahead and slow this down. Let's see. So, okay, I'm going to do. We're going to have it both ways is what we're going to do, I think. I'm going to try this anyway. We have just enough slots to do this. Okay, so we're going to assign this one to this, and this one to this. And then we're going to go over to pressure here and click. So it makes the time a lot slower there. I think it's slower that we want to go, and then a lot slower here. Let's see if this works like I expect it to work. If not, we just have to go positive instead of negative. See there, I think I actually it did work like I expected, but I put too much speed on it. So let's try this much. Okay, that's not quite enough. 53 is too much and 37 ain't enough, so let's try 43 in both positions. That's it. Yes. I definitely agree that in both photography and field recording, the best capture instrument of whatever kind is the one that's with you. I have, especially when you're talking about sounds that are going to be processed, I mean, if you're a field recording guy and you're going to be releasing field recordings as field recordings, it probably makes sense to make sure that you have a high quality, 32-bit float, good microphone recorder with you at all times, because what you're releasing is going to be something pretty close to what you're recording. If, on the other hand, like me, you're busy making weird, fucked up UFO noises out of whatever you record, then the quality of the initial recording it's not exactly immaterial, but it definitely doesn't matter as much. All right, so we're going to save this. It's not a bass. It's keys is an effect. We'll just call it keys. I want to call this PQR E press. Oh, hold on a second, actually. Oops, that's not what I wanted. All right. It's nice that it. Oops. Shift. That's a shift. I thought I could. There's a way to move backwards on these, and I don't remember what it is. There we go. What is the. Wait a minute. Let's try this again. Okay, save. Click to save. Sorry, this is very annoying, I'm sure, to watch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. But we figured it out. 17th time is the trick, right? The charm. That's the word I'm looking for. Press for. Press for chips, because when you push the pressure down, you get a chiptune-like sound. All right. Yeah, once you get the sounds into your computer, I mean, sometimes things end up sounding pretty much like they were, but frequently they end up being miles apart. Yeah, on my last, second to last album on Psychedelic Ghost Stories, on the big like climax track of the thing, there's like multiple different field recordings I made. There's a recording of my kids and some friends of mine kids playing at a park. That's been all manipulated and whatever in Morphogene, and just a bunch of stuff that you would almost certainly never identify what it actually is. All right, so this is trance pad once again. 1, 2, 3. Oops, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Come on. 1, 2, 3. Gotta get fast enough. There we go. Wasn't going fast enough. All right. And so the next oscillator type is speech. So
frequency.
This is kind of a
frequency.
One of the novelty oscillator types, if you will. This basically has a bunch of speak and spell type.
3, 3.
That's actually one of the patches I've used in this in the past. Did basically this exact thing. Just whatever you key he would hit, it says 6, so you can make it go when you want to do some devil music. But since I already did that, we'll do something different this time. Okay. So let's put that on sample and hold. And we'll put this on LFO goes to Okay, we're going to put this really short because I'm going to do that is the wrong. I wanted that on the cycling envelope. And I'm just going to turn this off. I don't really need it to do anything now. It was a mistake. I put it on there in the first place. It's supposed to be the cycling envelope all along. You cannot get custom words in there. Nope. It is just comes with, I think there's 4 or 5 word sets. One's numbers. I think there's the letters of the alphabet. One's a bunch of synthesizer related words like frequency, filter, sequencer, etc. Oscillator. Numbers, letters. Oh, and then there's like a alpha, beta, foxtrot, like the the military word thing, and then one more maybe. I can't remember what it is. It is like I said, it's a pretty gimmicky. There we go. See, now you can do interesting things with it, but you definitely got to be pretty creative. Let's put this on 100 and see how that sounds. Okay, good. And maybe we'll do this to filter resonance. So I can get it a little sharper with. Maybe we should use this to turn it down. That's actually kind of interesting. And you know what else might be kind of fun is to put a little pitch envelope on there. All right. Yeah. The original Speak and Spell definitely, and my understanding is this actually uses that same thing. So it's conceivable that in a future update they could update this to allow you to do different words, or at least add additional word sets to it. I don't think that they'll do that, in part because this is just one of those like throw-in oscillators. Like I said, it's surprisingly useful from time to time. It's not the kind of thing you're going to use every day or anything close to it, but when you need a robot voice saying machine or frequency or whatever, you have one. Like I said, I've used it in a couple different patches. Usually I like to do something like this, where you're manipulating the controls in such a way that you're getting weird / silly nonsense. But you can definitely just use it to, it would be very clunky to chain phonemes with this interface. But yeah, when you like really abuse the settings, you can get some pretty interesting, weird little gribbles and scribbles. Save this here. That is not a sound effects, is what that is. And we're going to just call this just a little scribble with a K. Actually, you know what we're going to call it? We're going to call it not scribble, Skribblet. So, obviously, kind of a novelty sound. Lower octaves definitely not as useful. But you know, I can imagine some times when I might want that. Okay, so this is actually one of the best presets in the thing. I'm going to go ahead and initialize it anyway because A, the spooky B sound that we made last week is remarkably like it, and B, I can always just reload it from the MIDI control center, from the computer if I decide I want it. I do use presets sometimes. I'm definitely not opposed to it, but the majority of sounds I use are my own, so I'm never sad about. I don't get too hung up about erasing a sound. Formant, chords, speech, modal. Okay, so this is another. Yeah, yeah. You do have to use an external editor with this to put your own samples and wavetables on it. Um, and it's a little clunky. I mean, it's not miserable. It's just kind of, it's kind of slow, and sometimes you like wonder if it's talking to the synth correctly. It'll hang up for a minute at a time or whatever. But considering that both the user wavetable functionality and the sample functionality was stuff that they added later in an update, you can hardly blame them, for that. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that like if they were to add the ability to edit phonemes and whatever in MIDI Control Center or some other standalone piece of software, um, it would be a cool feature. Uh, it probably would not be one that I would mess with much because I don't mess with that oscillator type much for one thing. But even like the samples and the user wavetables, like theoretically I should be all about that life, but I have not. I've used the samples that they've loaded that came loaded with that update, and I've used the user wavetables that came loaded with that update, but I have not created any of my own. And I don't know, I may at some point, but I just haven't really felt the need. So okay, so this modal oscillator type is based, I think it's based on rings. A modal resonator imitates how a sound is amplified in the things that surround us. Everything, without exception, responds with complex sound consisting of many harmonics when you hit it. Yeah. This a lot of explanation here. Yeah. So the settings are inharmonicity, which is amount of that is not an easy word to say, inharmonicity, or the material selection. So that sort of makes it woodier or more metallic, depending on what you do there. Timbre is the excitation, brightness, and dust density. That doesn't mean much to me. And decay is the damping or decay. So, if it rings out or if it's just like a bunk. So let's play. Yeah, so more metallic, woodier. Okay, so that's minimum decay, maximum decay. So woody, I kind of like. Kind of a bell-like sound. Even more bell-like. Okay, maybe we can do something like that hang drum sound that we did on Pigments a little while ago. Okay. Cycling envelope. Let's problem with this, I kind of just like this how it is, and it's like, well, what do I want to even have? Okay, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to have the pressure go towards the wave selection, which is the inharmonicity. So the more pressure, more finger on it, the more metallic it's going to sound. Oh, that's interesting. That's not what I expected to happen. So that's what's fun here is some of these models. Okay, it changes there's like a pitch thing attached to that as well. So maybe pressure is not what we want. Maybe we want the cycling envelope to affect that. Okay, that's interesting. Musical saw. Yeah, it is kind of a. It did start without samples at all. Yep. Okay, I kind of like this again. So I think I'm gonna do that same kind of thing I did where we. Okay, so we go. This is here. We go. This is here, and we're just gonna more pressure reduces the time and makes it all crazy. Okay, somehow not what I expected. I need to go in the other direction. No, that's right. I was doing the right thing before. Just doing something. Too much? Not entirely sure. It's going too fast, I think, when I speed it up like that. So this is too much again. Let's go down to like 5, 7, 9, 11, somewhere in there. It's interesting. Okay. Actually, I'm going to put the LFO on resonance here. We're going to unsync it. We're going to make it relatively fast. That's too fast. That's maybe what we're thinking. Click. Okay, I guess. That's maybe a little too much. Kind of a weird bell sound. That's weird, all right. I'm not sure what, oops, I might use that for. We'll call it a lead, sure. A weird. Weird bell. Still kind of bell-like. I should have called it art bell. That's a weird bell. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, definitely could benefit. I think a lot of these sounds could benefit from effects. At some point, maybe I will do a stream where I plug the MicroFreak into some effects and maybe even build a couple custom patches for it, and then go through all these presets that we've made to see what they sound like with effects, and even do like a dry and before and after kind of a thing. Okay, so modal. Now we're on to the noise. So this one has type of noise, rate, which I assume is with the frequency of the noise. Yeah. And then balance is the balance between, it also has a tone mixed in with it, and it's the balance between the tone and the noise. And type is type of noise, I assume, from like white noise. First thought here is to maybe we can try and so we got the basically set the resonance high enough and it's all the way up, and you can play it across the keyboard. It'll create a tone out of the noise. I don't know. It's not that interesting. So maybe I don't know how useful this is, but oops, that's not right. Maybe even a little more. So my thought here is you could have like a little I like it as just noise, honestly. I wonder if we could do something else. Okay, so since we're not going to pitch this across the keyboard, we could conceivably use that to give you different noise as you moved up and down the keyboard. We could also have it bump the rate as it goes across the keyboard too. Is that useful? Because it's pretty low frequency noise right now. So pressure controls the cutoff of the filter. We got to figure out something for these other things to do, though. What if we have the LFO controlling the resonance? Okay, that's just interesting. Envelopes controlling the amplitude. What do we got going on with that? It's not very interesting. Don't have the cycling envelope doing anything though. Gotta give it a job. What was the other thing I was thinking might be interesting? Cycling envelope. Maybe we should just make the filter hiccup a little bit, just a little bit. Okay. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Oh, hey, Tripwire, sorry. Thanks for coming by. You're probably already gone, but I can reverse the polarity of the modulation, which I think is what I already did. Yeah, I like this. I think it's like a playable. Radio effect noise. So if you ever need like a, fake some CB static or late night, trying to tune a radio in, that kind of a thing. Yes. Oops, save, click here. This is definitely a sound effect. We're going to call this radio. It's nice to have some new people stop by. Not that I don't continue to enjoy the company of the people who are here all the time, most notably you, Mr. Dead Insects. It's kind of nice, honestly, to have some recurring faces too. I feel like we're having an extended conversation that we kind of pick up and put down about various sound design and music. Let's see. E-N space N-O-I-S. Yeah, okay. I'm going to have to go. I really need to figure out. I swear it's like shift. Save, click. I know there's a way to go backwards through these, and I've done it before, and it's really annoying that I can't remember what it is. God damn it, especially when I... Let's try this. What is this, the third time? Okay, click to save. Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. F. I don't even know. I still don't know if I'm going to have enough to even type this out. Radio. Free. I can fake it at least. N. O. I. See. Nope, I do have enough. Okay, save. We're going to do it properly now. 5th time's charm. Sorry, this is probably very annoying to watch. Click to save. To the E. E. Save. That's kind of fun. Playable noise. Yggdrasil. That is quite a nice pad. Uses the sample. That's pretty nice. So now I gotta know what sample it is. Lo-fi chords? Not that. Bird pad, huh? Okay. Next. Okay, so noise. So now we're into bass or bass. So this is one of the noise engineering oscillators. The bass model is a quadrature oscillator with 2 inputs, sine and a cosine oscillator. Sine is fed into a balanced modulator, and the resulting wave is mixed with the modulated cosine oscillator. Saturate, fold, and noise parameters enable you to control this modulation in various ways. Saturate sets the saturation of the cosine oscillator. Fold is a 2-stage asymmetric wavefolder. And noise is noise modulation. Phase modulate the 2 oscillators in opposite phase added between the noise stages. this oscillator. I actually have this one in Eurorack as well because I have the Noise Engineering Legio, and this was one of the they created these oscillator types for the MicroFreak first, and then they created this Legio module, and it was one of the first things that they had on that platform. So that's actually what is currently set up on my Legio module in Modular, which is, I guess, just a way of saying I'm a fan of this oscillator. Okay, so all right. Actually, I'm going to just use I think I'm going to use the cycling envelope. It's just a regular envelope this time. And we're going to put that on the wave. And we'll do the regular envelope on the timbre a little bit. LFO, I actually want to control this noise source, this noise modulation source, I should say. So I'm going to set this to 0. And then use pressure to turn that on and off. Okay, so we're going to go down to pressure, hold this. Okay. Yep. And then we're going to click this here, make that go to like, let's see. Except now I think I want this to actually be noise. Okay, and then once more, just do a little, this is the keyboard tracking to cut off. Pretty standard again, just makes it a little brighter as we go up and down the keyboard, or as we go up the keyboard specifically. That's pretty good bass. Not too bad. Yeah, noise engineering, from what I can tell, are very cool people. Ricky Tynes, yes, Jeremy, and I don't know who else you watched. I know Blush Response is a big fan of noise engineering stuff. Um, I think they're fairly popular among a certain sect of the more experimental YouTube and harsher, more out there YouTube music making modular community. Maybe just tighten the attack up a little bit. That's pretty interesting. Do we need to... Okay. Yeah, turn the filter down a little more. I'm actually going to call that good. See if we can think. So this uses the click. No, that's a bass. Uses the bass or bass oscillator to do bass. So we're going to call this one. Oh, look at that. I just got to hold it down. I knew I'd figure it out. Muscle memory. Yeah, when it comes to noise engineering, I have two of their modules, question mark? I think it's two. I've got the Versio and the Legio, which are both two of their platform modules, meaning you can update them into completely different modules with the firmware update, which I do sometimes, although I have to admit I like the... So I have the Desmodus Versio, which is their reverb, and I have to admit I like it so well as a modular reverb. I have never tried out any of the other. The other firmwares for it, I haven't even tried them out, but the reverb's really good. And then I have the Temp Legio is the one I bought, which is one of their drum modules. And I've tried a couple different firmwares on that. And then the other one is the Alia platform, which is their oscillator platform. I don't have that one. It's one of the few modules that I feel like I am deeply compelled to own that I don't currently own. Pretty happy with my modular setup as it is, honestly. I've not felt a need to add to it for a while. But if I were going to add something, that would be one of the things I would seriously consider adding. Okay, I'm going to have to let you hang for just a minute before we start on the... Yep, the next oscillator type, which is SawX. So this is another super saw style, but noise engineering super saw. So I'm just going to hit the bathroom real quick. I'll be back in less than a minute. Please wait. Okay. All right, so swarm of dead insects. As I understand modular, you're always a couple modules short, and not having much space to put them, I don't even start. I wish I could grab one of these cameras and show you my modular setup. There's some truth to that, especially when you're getting started. It's very easy to find yourself one module short. And if you don't get a grip on the addictive element, I think it's easy to always feel that way. Like you always I just need one more module. Um, but I will say that once you have, uh, how to put this, really that's just gas, just like with any other kind of setup. Um, you just, there's always that like, oh, if I just had this synthesizer, then I'd be able to do the things I want to do. That's what I need to help make me a little more creative, or a little more, to do these special kind of sounds that I'm having trouble doing otherwise. When in fact, usually what you just need to do is learn the gear you have a little better, go a little deeper. And hey, getting back to that shameless plug bit, I mean, that's part of why I'm doing this kind of series, is to show that, a 5-year-old synthesizer that retails for under $400 can still provide uh, tons of depth, near infinite depth, and that a $200 software synthesizer um, that's not one of like this year's current like ooh wow kind of dealios can still provide near infinite depth. And certainly when it comes to modular, that's the case. So for the first year I was doing modular stuff, I had that like, oh, I just need one more module. I just need one more. I need this. I need that. Um, and then I got to the point where I was a little overwhelmed by it all, and then I stopped buying stuff, and then I started like really digging into what I had, and now I understand all the things I have a lot better, and I don't honestly crave new modules much anymore. If anything, I feel like I already have maybe too much possibility space over there, and sometimes it's a little overwhelming. So the last thing I need is more modules. But yeah, and I do think that knowing, yeah, most modern tools are way OP for pretty much everything. Um, and like you're saying, it helps. You said it helps that I'm confident in what I want musically, and modular, fun as it is, doesn't cut it. Yeah, so it does cut it for me, but it does definitely help knowing what you're after musically. Um, if you're not sure what you're trying to do, it can be pretty difficult to be sure if you've made it or not. But if you know what you're trying to do, then it should be relatively straightforward as to whether or not you're actually succeeding at that. Okay, so we got saw mod, shape, and again the noise. Let me just look at this real quick. Saw mod sets the gain of a modulus stage. Shape sets the chorus amount, and noise sets the the amount of phase modulation by subsampled white noise. Yeah, right. So it's just it's a noise engineering supersaw is what it is. We can get into some sync tones there. So let's start with the LFO to the chorus stage, which is timbre. Oops. Okay. Van Halen jump oscillator. We could maybe do a Van Halen jump kind of thing. I would probably have to have a reference in order to actually get anywhere close, unless you just want to describe it for me. I'm going to use pressure to get too much. That's the right idea. So I'm using the pressure to bring in those sync tones. We need the sustain to be higher. That's kind of nice. That's almost like a wistful sound. utility, preset volume. This one's kind of quiet, so I'm going to jack the volume. There we go. Might actually be too high. More release on that. Yeah, right. It was a great big chorus, probably Oberheim, if I remember correctly. It's either Oberheim or Prophet brass sound, as I recall. And it's almost embarrassing that I cannot think of it because it was so ubiquitous when I was a child, and it is to this day one of the ubiquitous synth sounds. Okay, so we haven't used our cycling envelope for anything yet. Maybe we should make that. Yeah, I've got it to run. Put it on a really long cycle, like a 10-second cycle, 20-second cycle even, and set it to, just asking for trouble here. I'm going to set it to the noise. This, my thought process would be. Okay. Kind of something sort of wistful, almost Boards of Canada-esque. Yeah, that's what I was going for. It's just that sort of if I had, this is where I wish I had one more LFO or random or noise source or something to add to make that pitch modulation random instead of. Although maybe it goes to LFO, goes to timbre. Maybe we could just make it noise. Okay. I think I like it. So we'll save, click to save. It is not a sequence, not percussion. It's probably a lead sound. We'll call it. It's kind of got a wistful quality to it. So I'm going to call it Wistful Lead. Wistful. Because sometimes you need, things to be wistful. Wistful Lead. we go. Now that is definitely one that could benefit from some tape echo and distortion and other things to make it sound shitty. Okay. Next one is Malibu. That this is a granular pad. It sure is. That's pretty nice. I wonder. Synth ARP. Okay, okay, that's the sample. It's called synth ARP. All right. And we'll be there soon enough. So harm. So this is another additive model. A harm oscillator creates a waveform by adding harmonics partials to a fundamental frequency. Spread is the relation to the partials. That's our first control. Rectification. It adds a rectifier to individual partials. So sort of like a half fold. Yeah. Rectification, if you are not aware. So a waveform typically goes positive and negative over its cycle around a center line of 0. And rectification cuts off anything below 0. Half rectification just literally cuts it off. And this is just rectification. Okay, so it's like a half fold, which it is like a half fold. And so it must be full rectification. And full rectification, instead of cutting off the bottom part, flips it up to the top. So a sine wave would normally go like this. So here's the center line. Sine wave goes above and below the center line. If you rectify, half rectify, it just cuts off, so it's just the half, and then it's dead, and then just the half, and then, so the part that would be the bottom cycle, there's nothing happening. Full rectify goes up, and then instead of going down, it goes up again because it's just been flipped over. And so that's what this is doing, is flipping some of the partials. Full rectify, I assume it's like fewer partials to the one side and more partials to the other. And then the last, as with all these, is adds phase modulated noise and master clip level, which clipping is also with a harmonic oscillator. It's going to give you some square wave type sounds as it clips the sides. Spread, you get kind of organ-like tone, midpoint, kind of like a muted saw maybe, or a triangle wave perhaps, and then down at the bottom, sine, kind of a little chaos. Sync off on this, turn the rate up to something like that, and then let's try that LFO on that first control. Okay. Tell you what we'll do here is hold this button down, go to here, and we'll click that, and we'll go here, and click that, and we'll use the pressure to remove go. So the pressure will remove that. Let's go to timbre. So I was thinking it might be fun to have this be a big ol' do here is make that actually almost nothing. So instead of using the pressure to knock the sort of quasi vibrato effect out, we'll use the pressure to bring it in. So I'm just gonna, there we go. Okay. And then the last. Okay, so we'll have the, oh, no, that's not what we wanted. I wanted, okay, so we're going to click this, 3, put it up on the envelope. Yeah, we're going to wipe that out. And I think actually, I'll just put a little filter on the envelope. Give a little emphasis on that. And then I'm going to put the cycling on this to give it also some variation. And then also, let's also put the LFO on that. So basically it'll have two different things affecting it. So it won't be as regular as either one. Oh, screwed that up. Okay. Full bridge rectifier. That's kind of like a string / organ sound. It's fine. It's not special. It could be a pad. Sure. We'll say it's, actually I think there's strings as an option. So I'm just going to call this string organ. It's not super creative. You don't have to love them all. It's also funny because I find sometimes a lot of the sounds I make, I'm like, oh, this is the coolest thing. I love the sound so much. And then it might take me a year to find a place to put it, like a song, a track that it works in or whatever. And then I'll make these sounds that I'm like, well, that's kind of a garbage sound. I don't really need another fill in the blank, or can't imagine when I'm ever going to need this fairly basic organ sound. And then like it'll end up on 10 different tracks because it's just like kind of a basic bread and butter sound or whatever. Another granular, which I think we are to, or not quite. So harm up. So now we're to the user wavetable. So this is just another wavetable oscillator, except this one lets you upload your own wavetables. Yeah. So I do love wavetables. So let's just. Yes, as Swarm of Dead Insect says, the same story happened with the whole 303 original hardware, not very loved or useful when new, but look at it now. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what kind of things like that pop up a generation or two from now. I feel like it's easy to feel like there are no surprises or discoveries like that left to be made because everything's so explored by music YouTubers and whatever, but probably not. Some kid out there is going to find some unloved plugin or synthesizer and use it to create some new genre of music, just like they did with 303 creating Acid. I mean, it is hilarious that the literal only reason they were using those instruments to make music is because it's what they could afford. Um, they were just buying whatever cheap, shitty gear was at the pawn shops and using it to make music, house music, and early techno. And those instruments came to sort of define those sounds because things that those instruments did naturally, like when you just start poking all the buttons on the 303, ended up being sort of the defining aspects of those sounds. Pretty neat stuff. Okay, so all right, so all right, so I turn the amp mod off, so we're just gating the sound on and off, and that's because I want to use the envelope for the to sweep the wavetable. And so in this one, the shape control actually controls a bit crusher. So we're going to put that on pressure so that we can use pressure to make it crunchy. Crunchy. More crunch. There we go. There you go. You can hear that crunch. Envelope is doing that. Cycling envelope isn't doing anything. Let's use the LFO to what? Not that, not that, not that. Okay, so we've already got, kind of already have our engine. I guess actually we could put the LFO on the wavetable position and just give it a little movement. Get it down to like... Now, once again, we're going to have the filter, or rather the cycling envelope, just be a little an actual envelope, if you will. And we're going to put that on the filter. Moogish bass tones, huh? Did I ruin that with this last adjustment? Well, I think I might reduce this pressure thing a little. Seems like it's maybe a bit much. There we go. Just give it a little emphasis, but don't let it take over. All right. Still Moogish. Like if Moog had a wavetable oscillator, I'll take that. That works for me. Call this one a bass. And let's call it Moogish. Why not? And then if and when I upload this pack to make it available for people, people can complain. That doesn't sound like a Moog bass. You're crazy. Okay. I think we are down to, okay, so we are down to sample, scan grains, cloud grains, hit grains, and the vocoder. So there's 4 types left. I'm definitely starting to flag a little, and I'm going to push through. We're going to do it. Let's just knock these OS4 out. A little bit of water. Okay, so this, we're going to try the sample oscillator. So this should give us some options. Okay, so we're going to hit shift and then turn type. We've got piano pop, piano lo-fi, piano clean, shamisen, string stack, e-piano, acoustic guitar, PGTS keys, harp, Brahm, cyberpad, SQ choir, synth layer, unison pad, voice of, wind pad, axe strings, morph lead, 808 drive, neuro, pluck, formant, harmonic, spectre, spectral, vocal, blue jingle, chord jingle, major jingle, dub jingle, harp arp, synth arp, emotion, eth bells, lo-fi chords, voice riff, bird pad, old FX, water drop, zap, future drums, drum break, harsh FM, 3 words, digital voice, furniture, water stream, aliasing, birds, Pro VS noise, vinyl, disco loop. Woo, okay, so 53 samples. That's actually a lot. That is a fair amount, and there's still room in there. Let's see, what does cyberpad sound like? Okay. Interesting. Nope, that's not what we wanted. Shift. SQ choir. So I assume that's a choir sampled from the SQ80/Sonic ESQ. Yeah, people do tend to complain about the most petty stuff. I mean, that's why I say that. You'll put stuff up for free or whatever, and people will complain that that the names aren't descriptive enough, or that there wasn't enough in the pack to waste their time on, or whatever. And it's like, dude, it was free. Like, you wasted nothing but the time it took you to download it and listen to it. So what do you want from me? Okay, so I'm going to turn this into paraphony, and let's see. It's not looped. Oh, I see. This. Yeah, we got to set all that stuff ourselves. Well, that's fun. So we have sample start, the length, and a loop here. So we probably want to start at the beginning. Oh, did I manage to change my sample? Yep, I did. I put it on the unison pad. Okay, so SQ choir. Cool. Okay, so we got a decent loop point set there. What do we want to play with on this? I think we want to play with the LFO on the filter cutoff, put on a triangle, make it quarter note, triplets. Oops, no, we do want that. And then mostly down, question mark? Let's see what this sounds like. Yeah. Great. Okay. And then, so that just adds a little animation. And then what we're going to do is go here, click this, zip it over to here, click this, back to here. Now we can use pressure to add more of that wobble. It's too much. Also, maybe this seems crazy, but let's give it a shot. Do this. Yep. And so click here. So that lets us change the rate a little bit by adding more pressure too. Different. Cycling envelope to what? Not to, maybe to the pitch? No, that can't be right. Oh, I know. What about cycling envelope 2? So that's the rate of that. 2. Maybe just do it on, like, yeah, okay. So we got the cycling envelope pointing at the resonance for now. Let's see what this sounds like. Yeah. Okay. This is not a remarkable anything, but it's not a bad little string pad or a vocal pad. Once again, like sometimes you just need things like this. And we're also kind of experimenting here, so that's worth noting as well. That we're just trying out these new oscillator types. No real destination in mind. I was thinking that the next time, I've been thinking about ways to make these better slash different. Not that they're bad or whatever, but you got to keep it fresh, especially when you got people that like to show up every single time. Want to keep it fresh for them. Um, it's usually easier to sell things for a token non-zero font. Yeah, it is. I do purges from time to time because I tend to collect just the most random shit. And I found that if I just give stuff away, people are really only interested in anything like that's valuable. But if I offer to trade for stuff, um, usually I actually frame it as a gift exchange. Like I will gift you one of these things, and you come and gift me something. I have much better results. Like people are more interested in the stuff, and I get more interesting things in response. Like sometimes just I've gotten weed and people's CDs and zines and cassette tapes of their band, things like that, and that I traded for toy xylophones and busted half busted cassette recorders and stuff like that that I had accumulated. So okay, Bazzappy Bazappo, huh? Funny. That's also sample based. Gotcha. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to go past sample to scan grains. Let's look at that engine real quick. Bar garage sale. Yeah, I've had pretty good luck with it. I've actually, um, I did it a couple times in Denver when I was there because I was trying to basically purge a bunch of stuff that I didn't want to carry across the country. Um, and I met some nice people, a bunch of kids mostly. Um, and I got some great, I got artwork that I have. I haven't actually hung up any of my artwork here, but I got some artwork that someone gave me. I think I showed this on stream once before. This is a print that someone gave me that they or their mom had made. I think actually, I got I don't know, maybe a little less than an eighth of weed, not from one person, but like a little nug here and a little nug there, like from 2 or 3 different people. Some other broken instruments and toys. Again, I know I mentioned this story before, but this little Chord monotron here, someone else gave me a second one as part of one of those trades. Yeah, and I traded off like partially functional mixers that I had bought to circuit bend or screw around with no input mixing with, and circuit bent guitar pedals, just a bunch of stuff that I had, you know, like the circuit bent guitar pedal, for example, was something I bought the guitar pedal at a thrift store for $2, and then I took it to my brother, and he circuit bent it and added like he probably tripled the value of it by adding, 5 switches that all cost $1 each. So, like 10 or 12 bucks into it at that point. And I used that stuff. Like I took it home and used it on a couple of tracks, and then I was done with it, and it just sat on a shelf until I found someone else that had a use for it. Anyway, okay, so let's try the scan grains now. Oh, hold on. I was going to just do a real quick read through scan grains. Scan grains. Scan grains sample playing oscillator plays back short slices of the loaded sample with volume envelope applied to each grain to ensure a smooth sound. It scans through the sample, playing it from start to finish at a user-definable speed. Wave knob sets the speed at which it's scanned, moves grain start position, density defines how often a grain is generated, and chaos adds some randomness. Okay, this seems like something we could have some fun with. Let's find a good sample to play with. Let's start at the bottom and work our way up this time. Disco loop, vinyl, Pro-VS noise, birds, aliasing. What does aliasing sound like? Okay, that is aliasing, all right. Furniture, digital voice, what is 3 words? Well, that's weird as hell. I don't know, maybe those are French words. I can't make out what they're supposed to be saying. But that's okay. Oh yeah, this is hell. This is crazy. Okay, maybe if I just put all these down to 0, I can actually hear what they're saying. This is wild. Alright, so I set the chaos pretty high. I set it at 69. Nice. And I think what we're going to do is modulate the scan and the density by our various moving around modulators. So let's get an interesting shape on this free running LFO here. Free running, not LFO, what do you call it? Function generator. And we're going to put that, I guess we might as well put that on the first one, which is the wave. That's interesting. I wonder why. Okay, that's interesting. This is really weird. Really weird. Okay. And we'll use the LFO to do something similar to the grain density. Maybe we should actually do noise on this one. And then I think we'll use that same noise and do this trick here that we did with, we're going to move this, put this here, and then we're going to use, oops, fuck that up, move this, rise time, and then, oh yeah, no, I didn't fuck anything up, I'm just a dummy. Okay, so do this, assign like negative sum here, and then here, positive sum, just kind of picking relatively arbitrary numbers. And then the pressure, I was thinking about using the pressure to make the chaos go down. Oops, that's not right. Chaos, go down. Okay, that's weird. It's weird. And I guess we can also have the LFO affecting the filter just a little bit, give it some variation. I don't know what in a haunted something or other is going on here. I do know Simon the Magpie in terms of, I know who he is. I don't know him. I've certainly never met him or anything. Curiously, the guitar pedal bend that I did, that I was talking about, was a Simon the Magpie. I mean, I don't know if he invented it, but that's where we found it, my brother and I, when we went to bend the pedal. We found the diagram from one of his projects. It was taking a Dan Electro overdrive. I want to say it's called hot pastrami or distortion. It's a little red pedal, and adding a couple of switches that let you short certain things out and turns it into this kind of weird chaotic oscillator. Maybe I'll do the aliasing one for the next granular. Okay, I'm going to call this one done. It is definitely a sound effect. And we're going to call this one Haunted. Call it Haunted AF. Definitely feel like this thing through like a delay, maybe some kind of variable delay that you could also control some elements of, could be pretty wild. And I think I might, this is an interesting one. Let's just have the envelope affect the pitch just a little bit. Because it's obviously not really a pitched sound, so I don't think it really matters. save, oh, save, click, save. There we go. No, save. Oh, my thing is freaking out. Speaking of haunted, that's fun. Oh, I haven't seen this behavior in a while. I probably need to restart this synth. That's all right. I'm just going to turn it off, turn it back on. It's also possible my encoders are, one or more of my encoders is worn out. That's kind of what it looks like, is that this encoder is worn out. That's terrible. Density. Okay. Yeah, it's like a little piece of dirt in the thing or something like that. Okay. Let's go ahead and add that. Save, click, save. Whoop, save, click, oh, click, and save. Okay. Well, that's not what I wanted to do anyway. Hold that for 3 seconds, put it down to envelope. That's what I wanted to do. Save, click, click, save. All right. Cute. 1, 2, 3. All right, so let's try. So we did scan grains. Now we're going to do cloud grains, and we will do shift to do this down to the aliasing. There it is. Okay, so we have start, density, and chaos is our thing. Starts, the wave knob controls grain start position. Timbre knob defines how often a grain is generated, and the shape knob adds randomness by changing values for density, size, pitch, and other parameters. Once again, I feel like a high degree of chaos is where we want to be. These are very sound effecty sounds after all, and start by putting an LFO onto the timbre. This will change the density. Let's see, modulations. Nope, that's not it. Voice, range, and glide mode, huh? Utility back, utility, global. What? Where? I swear. Oh, it must be in this voice. Yeah. No. What Modulations. Oh yeah, okay, here it is. Sorry, again, so I'm talking to myself. I know that's. I'm going to turn LFO retrigger on for this one. Out of here. Okay, and then we're going to do the cycling envelope. For start position here, to move it around a little. Hum. Okay. This is like a weird. Interesting. Actually call this a lead, even though I don't know that you'd ever actually use it for a lead. Yeah, this one sounds like a faint signal coming in from somewhere weird and far away late at night. Another kind of radio noise thing. I feel like between this and that other radio noise sound we did earlier, the noise oscillator, we're on our way to like a weird tune intro soundscape track kind of a thing. Nope. There we go. Interesting. Into reverse. It's like a reverse string pad. Use the sample oscillator. Okay. Getting down to it. Hit grains. This is the last one, friend. Oh, devices to record raw radio waves. Yes. Did we talk about this before too? This is my this is the Soma Ether. That is the device. One of the. I mean, there's other ones. I'm not saying it's the only one, but it's the one of the cooler devices, if you will, for recording raw radio waves. Um, Yeah, the granular engines. Maybe I should. You know what I should do is put together a sample pack, load it in to the sample engine, like do some stuff on the old modular back here, load it into the sample engine, and do a whole stream of just those. Heinbach did talk about this one. That's where I saw it. I saw this courtesy of Heinbach. So I have to thank Stefan, Mr. Heinbach, for turning me on to this little thing because, as you might guess, given my name of Ether Diver and the fact that this thing is called Ether, this actually inspired my the project name that I have. So I did a track called Ether Diver where I was diving into the ether. I made an entire track out of sounds that I got from the Soma Ether, and I put those onto the into Ableton, built a track out of them, and I liked it. I called it Ether Diver because I was diving into the ether, and then I thought it was funny to have a track called Ether Diver because the track was diving into the ether. And then I liked it so much I was going to make an EP called that, and I thought that that was really funny. The song Ether Diver on the Ether Diver EP by the artist Ether Diver. But then the more I thought about it, the more I just liked the name Ether Diver as my project name, so that's what I ended up with. Okay, so we've got the hit grains. Now we just got to pick. What is this? Oh, that's wild. Okay. Oh, I see. It's the way it's looping. Acoustic guitar, harp, Brahm. This Spector one. So let me read the constructions on it. Yeah, I had actually kind of forgotten that Motorhead was a Hawkwind song. I knew the Lemmy was in Motorhead, but yeah. So there you go. There's my spiritual connection with Lemmy, which all musicians need a spiritual connection with Lemmy. Okay, so hit grains. It's a third granular engine with a sharp volume envelope. It's designed for percussive granular patches. Wave knob controls the start position, grain start position. Timbre knob is density again, and shape sets the size of the grain and the envelope parameter. Okay, so this one's a little different. No chaos on this one. That's pretty wild. Okay, so I know I want to have a really long cycle of this. And we're going to do that to the density. Okay, so cycling envelope to timbre. That's really weird, and I mean that in a good way. Okay, so then the LFO we will use to control the start point. So put the pressure onto the cutoff. All right. And we'll let the envelope do a little bit of the filter. Reasonable. All right, and then also want, oops, no, want to use the LFO to control the fall or rise time of the, actually, you know what? Let's do the fall time, not the rise time, of the cycling envelope. And LFO to that, right? Give it a kind of a negative thing here. Well, that's really weird, but it's kind of cool. And I think I'm just going to save this. Save, yeah, more sound effects. And we're going to call this in honor of Douglas Adams, a GargleBlaster. Because it's kind of gargly. And also, just like saying GargleBlaster. Gargle. B L A S T E. Look at that, we even have enough letters. We even had an extra one. We could have made it 2 words. I don't think I care enough. Let's make it 1 word. And there we go. That's 1 for every engine type. Cat per sound, yeah, for sure. Oh, I bet that was pretty interesting. Your ambient track consisting mostly of dry weeds wrestling through granular. Granular is something I have really only played with a little bit, and I could probably stand to explore it a little more. Wow, this is my longest stream yet, by the way. We did almost 3 hours. That's what happens when you want to decide to push through to the end. But we are done. We have now done all of the filter or oscillator types except for the vocoder, which maybe I'll do a special stream on that one at some point. And I do need to find a mic that'll actually work with this. I had borrowed a headset mic from my wife at one point and had minimal luck with it, just to test out the vocoder function. And did not have what I would consider to be usable results other than just to test it out. But I do have a whole box full of cheap and shitty microphones that I can try one by one and see if maybe one of them just happens to have the right gain or whatever. I don't know what the deal was. Yeah. Well, I mean, I have Heinbach's granular app. Let's see. I have most of his iPad apps actually. I've not bought any of them for the PC because they're considerably more expensive, and not that they're not worth it. I just well, for a long time I was not. I was DAWless, so there was no point in buying them for a PC. Now I am not DAWless. I definitely use my PC or my Mac actually um, to do a lot of these things, but God, I can never find anything on this damn thing. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Fluss. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen this. It's Heinbach's granular app. Um, I do like it quite a bit. I also have um, Quanta on here, which I was bought as a recommendation from him as a granular app that's worthwhile. And now there's Quanta too. Um, but yeah, he is a very inspirational musician. I actually discovered him when I was first getting back into music. I was using cassettes, which is a trick that I had done the last time I was into making music in the mid aughts. Is much more novel then, actually. Um, yep, that is the one. It is very playful. It's very fun to just kind of dick around with. But yeah, in the aughts, my buddy and my production buddy and I had discovered this. Lots of people independent discovery. All I can say is no one showed it to us. He showed it to me. Is what I should say. As far as I know, no one showed it to him. And we just realized that if we would run our drum machine loops or our sampled, built drums through a cassette tape, and then resample them back into Ableton or whatever, um, that we could get a much more cemented sound. Like a lot of times at the time, we were having an issue where a lot of our drum loops sounded like drum machine loops, like oh yeah, you took the sample and you took the sample and you took the sample and you put them into a sequencer and you made a drum machine loop out of it, which is fine because that's of course what they actually were. But we were just kind of wanting them to sound more like not real drums, but like something that had come off an album, something that had been sampled. And we found by running those loops into a cassette and then re-recording them and cutting them up as loops into our tracks, we could do that. They sounded cemented together, glued together. And so when I got back into making music in 2019, one of the first things I did is like, oh, I should buy a cassette deck so I can get back to doing that trick that we used to do. And then I discovered Heinbach right after that, probably because I was looking for it's like, well, now I've got the cassette deck. What else can I do with it? And he was big into using cassettes, of course, and so he had done this like video on how to use cassettes in your music making, and I was like, oh, this is brilliant. That's exactly what I was thinking. And I was like, oh, there are people like me, and this is wonderful, and yada yada. And then he came to Denver actually and did a show, maybe 3 or 4 months after I started following him on YouTube. That I randomly found out about the day of the show, and so I went there and I got to see him perform, and I got to meet him, and he is a super chill dude. He is exactly like you would think he would be, just the kindest, most open, happy to talk about anything. I told him, I was like, oh yeah, I have 25 tape recorders at home, and he was like, oh my god, that's so many. And then he was like, actually, and he starts counting, and he's like, oh, actually, I probably have 25 tape recorders at home too. So yeah, real kindred spirit, old Heinbach. I'm a big fan of his work, his music, and his YouTube stuff as well. I find him immensely entertaining and educational. Yeah. So that's a good. Oh, by the way, I'm gonna write this down. I'm gonna sample pack for MicroFreak plus a stream on granular engines for future reference. And I think next time I stream like pigments or something else that I've streamed a bunch of times, I think I will come in with a bit of a plan, not like a hardcore plan, but like next time I was thinking, like for example, next time I do pigments, maybe I'll do all pads, and I'll just program like 5 pads or whatever, different things, or um, all leads, whatever. Or the other thing I was thinking of is picking a genre like industrial or shoegaze or whatever, and then just making a bunch of sounds for that genre. I don't know if either of those sounds interesting to you, or one sounds more interesting than the other. Like, since you're my number one fan, uh, or at least the guy who shows up for all my streams, if one of them sounded more interesting to you, I would probably prioritize it because you're the one that's most likely to see it. Um, but yeah, okay. I think that I have rambled enough. I'm definitely a little out of thoughts, brain empty, free of thoughts. So I'm gonna wrap this up, and I want to thank you again for hanging out with me before bed. I know that this is right before you get ready to wind down for the night. Starting with a genre. Okay, we'll start with genre. That gives a little more flexibility too. Like if you're just making pads, then obviously you're kind of making the same sound to some degree over and over again. Whereas if we start with a genre, we can make a variety of different sounds, even sound effects, percussion, stuff like that. Um, just got to make sure I pick something that has well-defined sounds that I actually understand, so that I'm not just like, what exactly does what does a funk lead sound like? Or whatever. But okay, yep. This is super duper long again, so I'm gonna hit stop and final thank you for coming and hanging out. Hope you sleep well, and I will see you in the next day or two. Peace.